Adrian, you good? All right. Good evening, everybody. Well, welcome everyone to our July meeting, Clay County Board of Education. This time I'll ask Mr. Caldwell, if he will, to say the pledge of allegiance.
Attention. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Beck, would you mind reading the mission statement?
Okay. The mission of Clay County Schools is to build high-quality learning environments that ensure all students learn at high levels.
Thank you. The announcements for this month is just the August the 28th board meeting. We'll be at our regular time at 6 o'clock here in the boardroom. And then, as you can tell, we have Ms. Crawford has joined us through Zoom. She's out of town this week, and so she's going to be with us through Zoom this evening. So I'll entertain a motion that we approve the agenda that has been emailed to you and is present there before you.
I'll make the motion we approve the agenda.
Ms. Beck has a motion. Mr. Caldwell, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Aye.
And then there was no public comment, right?
Yep.
Okay. All right. So we'll move on to our report section, and we're going to start that with Dr. West from the Masonboro Group. And as part of that, we've got Richard is zoomed in too.
I saw his picture up there.
So,
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Chief, for the privilege of being here again. Be with you. Our chief members conducted some community meetings with you, citizens who were interested a couple of weeks ago. And from there, I sent you all, I think, the comments from the meetings. And based on those comments, put together some recommended preferred criteria for the search, which I think Mr. Jeffries has to be on the screen. And so we did not want to move forward without approval of those preferred criteria. You know, there are other criteria that you got to have, like having a superintendent certificate, things like that. But the preferred criteria were in the memo that we sent to you. And then we've received 100 and some, I think 15 responses to our community survey. And we'll use those survey results to help frame the questions with the interviewees during the process. But our request tonight is that that you all consider approval of those preferred criteria, which are on the screen now.
are there any questions or comments about those? I know we had those in email, and Ms. Beck had kind of consolidated some of those as well and emailed them out to everybody.
Yeah.
So, are there any?
Could I comment? I made the two things in red there. This is me personally. I think if you don't understand the change process, you're not going to even think about having a long-term commitment, long-term tenure in any game. You've got to understand how things change. So they're all important. Everything you've got up there is important. Those two have got to come to the front. You've got to understand how you go about changing things or not changing things. Maybe you just, everything's going good and you just want to take it where it is and move on up. But then you can go to everything else and long-term commitment to the schools and the community, I think. But all of those are very important.
Yeah. And they really came from the community meetings.
And I think a lot of folks want somebody here long-term. I think the board would love to have that long-term.
Right.
I think the idea of finding another Scotty Penland that's going to be in that chair for 30 years is probably not.
You'd be lucky if you could.
Yeah. The state average is 2.5 years now.
2.5 years.
Yeah. So we've got to think about that in terms of what long-term is. You know,
Well, I'll tell you what, he was a good one, still is.
Yeah. So think everything that was up there, I was pleased with, that came out of those meetings. So I'm totally okay with going ahead and approving them, or if we want some time to think about them, I'm fine with that
We
as
need
well.
some
So
time to think about it.
think about it.
Yes.
Okay.
But Richard's,
Richard, did you have any, you had emailed about some comments that you wanted to make or
I
no?
think we're good.
I think we're good.
Okay.
I can't tell.
Okay.
I can't tell if there's a microphone to stand where Dr. West is, but
There is.
if there is, it's not on.
Okay.
Can't tell. If they're good, then tomorrow we'll have the application online and ready to roll.
if we come up with any more changes before the night's over, we'll let you know.
Please do.
Okay.
Please do.
Thank you.
Okay, good.
All right.
Thank y'all very much. Ms. Jones, good to see you again too. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you, Dr.
Appreciate
West.
it.
Appreciate it. Next, we have the Holocaust Education Seminar. Ms. Beck.
Good evening. So this has been almost 2 years in the making. If you remember, almost 2 years ago, I was selected to participate in a Holocaust educators trip to Poland, and I received a scholarship through NCAT for that. On the screen, you can see the group of people who went with me. The trip was postponed from last June to this June, and it was scheduled for the 18th through the 26th of June. There were 41 in our group, and out of those 41, the majority were North Carolina educators. Not all of us were North Carolina educators. There were a couple of people from Tennessee who work in those schools, and there were some rabbis who came along to help with the education process about Jewish life and history. And then we had some retired educators as well. The leaders, Rabbi Gutman and Lee Holder, planned for the agenda of the places that we went. And they also worked to get the funding. I believe there was about $120,000 of funding that came from private donors and different people to fund the group of educators who went. So it was definitely an honor to be selected, and I'm just going to share a little bit about why the trip came about and then some of the things that we did. Go to the next slide. So on the screen you'll see a picture of Gisela Abramson, and she is the namesake for the Holocaust Education Act that came into effect November 2021. So this states that in North Carolina, all students in North Carolina public schools, grades 6 through 12, will be taught about the Holocaust in some form in their social studies and in their ELA classes. That's not going to be exactly the same for every grade level. Some grade levels will be more in depth than others. For example, I teach English 2, which is the sophomore level, and we tend to go quite in depth with a study of the book Night by Elie Wiesel and the background of the Holocaust. So that grade level may spend more time than some of the others. But this Education Act is going into effect this school year. The curriculum is getting rolled out very soon. I have been honored to sort of participate in that process as they've been working on it through being a volunteer. I am not on the North Carolina Council for the Holocaust, but I am a volunteer county coordinator 1 year and now a regional co-director. So that means that I have been part of the process, and I know, for example, that they are very close to finishing. We were supposed to have a meeting tomorrow to discuss it, but they're still working on those details. Because this act was passed, they wanted to go ahead and start getting professional development opportunities for educators, and that's where the idea for the trip came about. And so you can go to the next slide, and you'll see some of the places that I visited. That is very small. I know you can't probably read all of that, but we visited multiple camps in Poland. And we also visited synagogues and historic sites that had to do with Jewish life before the Holocaust, as well as during and then after the Holocaust. That was a big part of our trip, was to have the context and not just see Jewish people as victims during the Holocaust, but see them before and the history that goes back. It's about 1,000 years in Poland for how long that they have been a part of that society. Why Poland? That's what a lot of people ask us. Why Poland? Why not somewhere else? A little bit of history in Poland before the war, before World War II, there were over 3 million Jewish people in Poland, which was why Hitler targeted Poland. And that is where all of the camps became established to start the process of annihilation. After World War II, there were only a little over 300,000 Jewish people living in Poland. So 3.3 million to a little over 300,000. And that tells you why Poland. One of my favorite places, and you'll see in that photo there, I'm standing with a man named Bernard Offen. He is a 94-year-old Holocaust survivor. He was in 5 separate camps. And he is a volunteer at the Jewish Community Center in Krakow. He was there we didn't know he was coming. He had not come to meet us, but he happened to be there, and the director asked him to come in. He was there to volunteer to make bags of food to give out to Ukrainian refugees. The Jewish Center in Krakow has served over 225,000 Ukrainian refugees in the past year. And so they're continuing to do that. They have housed 800 families, I think, and they're feeding them, daily and helping them survive. That does not mean those Ukrainian refugees are Jewish. They're just Ukrainian refugees and need help. So the Jewish life going forward in Poland is very tenuous because of anti-Semitism that still exists and fear to be open about your Jewish heritage, and also not really knowing that you are Jewish. That's what we were learning, that many families didn't tell their children that they were Jewish, and they hid that fact. They changed their names, and they even moved, and then they come back and they find out that they are Jewish. And so this center exists to sort of help them come to terms with that and be able to celebrate their heritage and serve and give back to others. So that was exciting to get to do that. That was one of my personal favorite things. Obviously, I saw a lot of difficult things at the camps, a lot of things that take time to process, a lot of pictures that I didn't really want to take, or if I took them, I didn't want to share them right away. But I am excited to share what I learned with my students. And I think that education for the Holocaust and also just Jewish history and life in general is something that is important and not necessarily something that I was confident in teaching until a few years ago when I started getting connected with people who could provide that professional development, such as NCAP. But if you have questions, I would be happy to answer them and just share a little bit more if you have specific questions about the trip.
Anybody have questions? Sounds like an exciting, very eye-opening experience.
Yeah, it was nice to collaborate as well with people all across North Carolina and a few other places as well. So we're still communicating, actually. We're still sharing our resources. So
I'm glad you got to go. It sounds like a really neat program.
So they're planning to try to do it next year. In the next 5 years, they would like to continue the process. So I would encourage any teacher who's interested to pay attention to your email. If that comes available, apply for it, because it's an opportunity you can't get just very easily, on your own. Because you could travel there, but having the expertise and the people to talk to about it, is important. All right.
I've been so fascinated with everything that you shared with me about the trip, and of course, I talked with you about how it will be presented to your students and the skill and expertise it will take, and to bring that to them so that they get a proper concept of it, rather than going away feeling so depressed. That, I mean, and the whole story could very well do that to young people, so.
Absolutely, and there were times that it was difficult on the trip, and there were times when it was a time of celebration for what's happening in terms of education.
Right.
And we met with a teacher. I should mention we did meet with a Polish high school teacher, and we spoke to her through an interpreter about Holocaust education in Poland, and to some extent a little bit of shock about the lack of education and what is required there. But at the same time, in America, only 19 states require Holocaust education. North Carolina is one of those. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Richard?
Mr. Chair, if I may.
Mr. Chair, if I may, while Ms. Beck is there,
Some of you know I'm the president.
some of you know I'm the president of the Delta Foundation.
A number of
including a number of teachers, including the Jack, we chose wisely. The evaluation process, the election process.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. On being
Also, I
elected.
was the author of
And also, I was the author of the Holocaust Education Act and very involved in
there's a lot,
there's a lot and incredible amount of
it's in the final stages of the approval.
It's in the final stages of the approval process.
And there's a lot of professional
And there's
development.
going to be a lot of professional development available.
This right now
This right now is a curriculum reviews in the curriculum in social studies and language arts.
there's also going to be
There's also going to be pilot elected
so there's a lot going on in this.
So there's a lot going on in this. You'll be hearing
We've got
about
boots on the ground there with
You've got boots on the ground there with
the process.
doing exactly is all in the process. So you can't look at
Yeah, very good. Thank you, Richard. Appreciate your support of NCAT as well, because that's a huge asset to our teachers and being able to do that. So thank you, Ms. Beck. Next, we have the superintendent's update.
Okay, I'm just gonna very briefly go through, I've just been busy the last few weeks getting reacclimated to everything. It is quite different, it changes fast in education. And I'm gonna keep everything like it is as much as possible, like I mentioned earlier. I don't see a need to change much. If anything, we got good people in place, really good, good staff. I've enjoyed my 4 weeks here. I would say I've been impressed, but I knew what to expect. I knew what I was going to see when I got here. So, but it has gone well. I visited all 4 schools, sat down with the principals, talked with them a little bit about what's going on in each school, and get their ideas on some things. Our summer work around campus, which is what we do a lot in the summer, is through maintenance, try to get things fixed that we can't fix with students here. New Ford in the high school, it's really, you gotta go see that. When I first walked into high school, I couldn't believe how good it looks. And so I think they're gonna have most of the hallways done, some of the classrooms, the offices. And then when school starts, we're gonna work out a system where they can possibly come in over the weekend and maybe have to move a class or two for a few days and do that room and then let them go back in. But that's coming along rather well. The elementary school being painted. I think Stephen told me it was on schedule to completely get it finished by the time school starts. New scoreboards put up on the high school football field. We are working on the electric equipped to it. It's a Bluetooth scoreboard, so there won't be any wires to run other than making sure Tom Sullivan, press box can reach it and read it. The high school gym floor's been refinished. I will say next year we're gonna have to look at taking that all the way down to wood. We've had a leak down there that they've worked on, and we put a patch in there just last week, I think. Tell it a little bit, but it needs to be completely reworked and everything sanded down, including the graphics, and put back on next summer. So I think that'd be a good something to plan on doing. Worked with the county attorney for the last couple of weeks getting the middle school and Old Rock Gym deeded back over to the school. I don't know if you knew it or not, but it was deeded to the county back in 2003 or 4. The county we got a QZAP loan. I don't remember what that stands for, but it's a QZAP loan. But it had to be in the county's name. So we had to get it surveyed, and the school deeded it to the county, so the county could actually get the money and pay for it. And that loan's been paid off. Now the architects that's doing the work for our new intermediate school, they gotta have it back in the school's name. So which is fine, we plan to do that anyway. County doesn't need it for anything. So anyway, we've got that done last week, and actually the county approved it last Thursday night. So it's now belongs to the school again, so we can tear it down. Now that it's ours to tear down, if we get to that point. The North Carolina General Assembly is, so I don't know what they're doing. They're not in session right now. They are not expected to finish until probably the middle to end of August. We've just danced before. It's not unusual. It's not good. It's hard to start school. We're working on last year's budget, so if we get cut in some areas, we're going to have to come back after school started to make that. If we get some extra money, we'll have to come back, and we can do the extra easier than we can do the cutting. So we hope that that's what happens. I met with Young Harris College this morning. Angel Owens and I met with the two professors of education, and I think they're in the assistant something in the education department. Anyway, we talked with them, looked at the MOU, and they left it with us. It's time to redo that on their student teachers and their interns, and seemed to have we didn't get a number, but it seemed like the way they talked, they're going to have, as they get ready to go in here, they're going to have quite a few. We got a couple from Hayesville.
We hired 2 new teachers from that
Okay. Okay. Good. So did that this morning. The intermediate school update. We're pretty much where we were in June when the architects actually came to the board meeting. I've had a couple Zoom meetings with them. He came out last week and met with Stephen Livers at maintenance and Adrian getting arrangements made for a couple things. One being getting the boiler taken out of the auditorium and housed, because when the auditorium comes down, the boilers, we got to have a boiler. That boiler down there does the Old Rock Gym in the middle school. So we don't want to trash it because it's still good, but we've got to use it, so we won't have to move it out of there. And I think they got a pretty good plan for that. So that's coming along. They're still looking at doing definitely 6 through 8 and cafeteria and auditorium, and then doing as an alternate 3 through 5. And it's according to the funding, what we end up doing. And that will not open up. We haven't opened up the applications yet for the, what I call it, inflationary funding with extra money, because inflation is taking a big hit out of what we got. We're told it will be in August, but that's all we were told. So we're assuming that means August 31st. I would say by the end of August we'll maybe be able to get our name in the pot for that. As far as Our positions on campus, I thought we had 100%, but I forgot we got that one teacher Angel's looking for, a visually impaired teacher. It's hard to find, but every other position's filled. We just need to try to find as we're looking for, and we did not have a visually impaired teacher. Last year we had a contract with a company.
And I thought that contract's sustained until we can find somebody.
Right, okay, good. So if anybody is aware of a visually impaired teacher, we certainly would like to have them contact us, and hopefully we can put them to work. Some important dates that I want to bring to your attention. Tuesday, August 22nd will be the opening session for all teachers, 8 a.m. in the auditorium. That's Tuesday, August 22nd. We'll have our opening kickoff down in the auditorium. Biscuits at 8, and the meeting starts at 8:30. Thursday, August 24th is our noon, our ministerial luncheon, where every year the ministers get together and feed the faculty and staff here, and that will be out at the, I hope I got this right, the New Covenant, it's called New Life, okay, New Life Church. Highway 64 toward Murphy. That's at noon on the 24th. And then, of course, Monday the 28th, first day of school for students. So that'll be a big day. Overall, like I said, it's been a great 3 or 4 weeks. Employees are doing wonders, and just know that August is around the corner. And when August gets here, it's where the rubber meets the road. But we'll be ready. We'll be ready. I am expecting a really good start this year. I really am. So I'm excited about it. Just want to give everybody a quick update on that. Next.
Very good. Any questions or comments about any of that, or?
I just want to say, Dr. Schutz.
Uh-huh.
I just want to say thank you.
To Superintendent Cameron.
And also, how many staff do we have now, or teachers, everyone?
Probably 205. I've always said 220, just roughly, but it's according to whether you count all, bus drivers. I mean, they're part-time. Most everybody on this is full-time, but over 200. It's a little over 200 right now.
Thank you. That's amazing.
That's amazing.
Thank you, Ms. Spindler. Next, we'll have the action item. We got Mr. Joe Slayton.
Thank you for having me. Some of you may not know, town bought the property adjoining the school property right across Town Creek. And that's what you have in your handout here. We had heard rumors of things going in there. We knew the property was for sale. And we thought those would be a bad fit for the town. And if anybody developed that lot, they would have had to just cut all the trees and do extensive grading. And we didn't want to see that happen, because as you come into town, that would be the first thing you see. And we love the way y'all have your property done. And so my first thought was, we can just extend what y'all have been doing, because you got the nice trees, grass, and it looks like a country. It looks very good. And so I got an opportunity to apply for a grant to develop the property. And I had a very short time to do it. And one of my thoughts was we could do a bridge to connect our property to your property. And the second, and you see it on the first page, the red line on the right-hand side of the sheet. Now, the town put the bill for this. We're not asking for any money, we're just asking permission to do it. Access to actually pour concrete footings that would hold it. On the second page, you see how this ties in with proposed bike pedestrian trail that connects Business 64 and Business 64, which is across one property owner's land, and they've given us permission to do that. And so, if you were walking, we know the sidewalks we put on Business 64 going to the courthouse. So you can walk, you can cut out or loop the town with this trail. And then we would hope you could go, obviously this connects the black dots, so lead on your property to the Quonset path. The red dots would go on our property to the bridge. And we encircle, once we cleared it, there's a natural depression, which will make a great small amphitheater. And there we would put maps, permanent maps, to show the trails around and the distance of each trail. So that's our hope. And then on the last sheet is the engineer's drawing of the bridge. And we got an estimate from the person who built the bridges on the Quonset path. And so this would be in keeping with those that you asked. It's a 30-foot long bridge because, as y'all know, the creek kind of wanders from time to time. But it doesn't wander more than 30 feet. Sometimes it's on your property, sometimes it's on our property. So I know that DOT is going to do the drainage, drain the town, comes alongside our property and the sidewalk, which is going to put more water actually into that creek. So, but they're working, they were surveying it today. But I know some of you have not heard of this. I tried to be on this agenda last month, but things didn't work out that way. And I talked to Dr. Cole, and he told me the first place I need to go was the school board. And so this is where I've come. I mean, I may need to go to the county commission, I don't know, but I thought this is the best place to start. And we have a little while to spend the funds out of the grant, but we don't have forever to spend the funds out of the grant. So I'm asking for permission to connect our two properties, because I think would be beneficial to both of us and to the people of the town and the county. Any questions about that?
Questions or comments?
I was just concerned, isn't this the area where the trail goes through that connects to the trail on down?
Well,
Through it crosses the road.
So the trail, right, so on this other page, you see that the Quonset path actually starts here and then goes down.
Okay, so it goes on the other side.
It goes to
Okay.
this side of the creek.
Okay, right, okay, so it's off the chart there, okay.
Right. The crosswalk is right there.
Yeah, this one is showing where it comes across
That's the
there.
crosswalk. Correct.
And the Quonset, it goes this way, is that what that is? Okay, I've got you. Okay, all right. So your proposal is just to make a bridge there, there's not gonna be another trail down through there?
Well,
Okay, so it would be,
I'd like to connect to the trail.
okay, I see.
Where it comes
Thank
back
you.
to the creek,
Okay,
you know.
I couldn't see what was off the charts, sorry.
And these images came from the tax map, so they're not.
Okay,
not
gotcha.
totally clear.
Okay,
I just think it's a grand opportunity, and if you look at the, our property, see, it is 64, and we have a right of way that actually goes to town between McClammer's warehouse and Mountain Mat, and then 2 squares. So, I mean, if we develop that, we have several access to different paths.
Is the sidewalk gonna go all the way up into town? Do you know?
Yes.
On that, is that the plan for that road project for the sidewalk?
We have access, and the owners know that.
Do what now?
I've talked to the owners
Yeah.
of the property, and they know that that's our right of way. And I said, I'm not gonna make you tear down your carport since it's our right of way, or your parking lot that encroaches on our right of way. I just want to know that I'm gonna have access, and we'd like to keep that cleaned up on, because forever, they've kind of thought it was their property, but they were aware that it was the town's property. So it's just,
Any other questions or comments?
I see you have the engineer stamp on it, for the bridge.
right.
And, for the, private people that own property there, you have in writing, I mean, you've got that,
About the right of way? Oh, the others.
the right of way of going across their property and all that.
Well, I don't have it in writing, but talk to all of them, I can get it in writing. Yes. Yes, sir.
I think as far as I'm concerned, as long as you got built according to engineering standards and not going to cause a safety issue, and I don't see a problem with it.
I mean, that property's kind of, the whole time been designated as public use and
Right.
Quancy Path, so, and this is improving that for folks, I feel like, so. I don't know that I see any issue with doing it.
I don't see any problem.
John's not on there. Do we want to think about this? Well, you're not on a time deadline, are you? I mean, do you need an answer tonight, or you?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I appreciate one, but that's okay. I understand. Since I know exactly how this works, I threw this on y'all in some way, but.
Yeah. But I mean, I think it's a good idea. I think it makes a good use of the property. The other thing that I liked it for an individual that uses that area quite a bit with walking or whatever. My hope would be that people would use that bridge and come out on the road up on the hill and not come out where it comes out now, because it kind of top that hill and boom, there you are, and it just doesn't feel safe coming out at the top of the hill and coming down and crossing. To me, seems safer, but I'm good with I'm good with it. I think it's a good idea. Do you want to give him an answer? Do you want to think about it for a few weeks, or just call it?
I think we need to think about it a few weeks. I would like to go ahead and make a motion if you're asking for one.
Okay, Ms. Beck has made a motion that we approve this bridge as it's drawn. Any comments, or Ms. Caldwell's making a second, I guess. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
There you go.
There's an answer.
Thank you, Jeff. Appreciate you doing that.
It'll work.
The next item for action is policy 7340, which is the dress and appearance policy. There were some changes made to that last month.
Mr. Cole threw out some things that, and getting feedback from the teachers and staff and principals, everyone. He threw out 4 or 5 things that he thought probably should come out, and that's what I have done. I took these out and sent you a revised copy, and so that's where we are now. Whatever we're going to do, I think we need to do it before now. teachers are gonna be coming back to school, and, the rest of the staff, and they need to know what's expected of them when they get here. And, so I'm fine with it. Principal's still gonna have some leeway if need be in certain cases to make exceptions. But, by and large, it does give a more defined rules and regulations of here's what you need to do. And also, I think Mr. Caldwell made a good comment last time, and he said whatever we're asking the employees to do, we need to do the same thing as a board and superintendent. And we have meetings, so I think that was a good idea. But that's basically the only changes in it, is just removing those items that were. And I read through all those comments too, and there were a lot of them made sense, a lot of valid points that teachers were making that we probably don't need to do right now, and don't see a need to. So I say let's go with what we got. We can always amend it, bring it back and change it at some point if we need to.
And I don't know if any other board, I didn't get any other additional comments once we talked about those changes last month, removals. And, I didn't hear anything. Nobody contacted me through email or anything. So is there a motion that we approve the dress code as it currently stands in front of me?
I'll make the motion.
Mr. Caldwell's motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Ms. Beck, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. Next item is approval of the consent agenda. It looks like the only thing there is the June 29th regular session meeting minutes from the meeting. So is there a motion that we approve the consent agenda as it was presented?
I'll make a motion.
I'll make the motion.
Mr. Kaufman has a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Ms. Beck, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. And then next, we'll entertain a motion to go into closed session. Mr. Caldwell.
I'll second
Ms.
it.
Beck, second. All in favor? Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Appreciate your